Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm really excited about this one. When we normally talk about ESG, environmental, social, and governance, you probably picture massive corporate boardrooms.
Right. You picture these huge compliance teams, dense annual reports, and executives just sweating over their emissions targets.
Exactly. But today, we are ripping that entire framework right out of the C-suite and dropping it directly into your living room.
Which is a pretty radical shift.
It really is. We're taking a deep dive into an entirely different application of these metrics. We're shifting the focus from corporate compliance to personal individual commitment.
Yeah, and think about your typical end-of-year reflections. Usually you're looking at financial goals, or maybe, I don't know, swiping through a fitness app to see how many steps you took.
Guiltily swiping, in my case.
Right, but we're looking at a framework today that asks you to evaluate a completely different metric, which is your own sustainability footprint.
So let's set the stage. We are exploring a comprehensive framework from an individual ESG practice assessment.
Yes, that was developed by SustNET and Think Plus Academy, SDN-BHD.
And we're pairing that with excerpts from the Personal ESG Reporting Standard 2025.
What's so compelling about this material is how it forces a transition. It takes us from passive awareness to measured practice.
Because we all read the news. We understand climate change on a macro level.
Exactly. But this assessment argues that, well, knowing about a problem is entirely different from actually quantifying your personal role in it.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core mission of this deep dive is to figure out how a surprisingly brief, like a 10 to 15-minute audit of your daily habits from 2025 can generate a totally personalized action plan for 2026.
And the underlying philosophy here across all the sources is that intentionality matters far more than perfection.
Right. They aren't asking you to achieve a zero-carbon, monk-like existence.
No, not at all. It's really about establishing a data-driven baseline of your actual behaviors.
Because human memory is just incredibly flawed when it comes to our own habits, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we tend to remember the one time we brought a reusable canvas bag to the grocery store.
And we conveniently forget the 40 times we opted for single-use plastic.
Exactly. So by requiring a full one-year look back at your 2025 data, this assessment strips away that psychological bias.
It creates a grounded reality of your present state.
Which is the only way you can strategically target the changes you want to make for the next year.
And the mechanism for gathering this data is remarkably frictionless.
Yeah, you aren't hiring a consultant to comb through your trash.
Or audit your utility bills. It's literally just a straightforward Google form.
You sit down, you review your year, and you plug in your metrics.
Now, there is a financial component to this, which I think is a fascinating piece of the design.
It is. To have your data processed by their sustainability assessors, there's an early bird fee.
Valid until February 1st, 2026, right?
Right. It's RM150 for Malaysians or USD50 for non-Malaysians.
And that's payable to Think Plus Academy, SDN-BHD's Maybank account.
But framing that fee is crucial here. The authors present it as a deliberate mechanism of commitment.
How so?
Well, when you pay for a third-party audit, you're fundamentally changing your relationship with the data.
Oh, I see. It's not just a free BuzzFeed quiz you click through and forget.
Exactly. You are investing in a professional evaluation. That transaction creates psychological weight. It ensures you take the resulting report seriously.
Which makes sense, because as a listener going through this, you might initially feel some hesitation.
Sure, looking closely at your own footprint can feel like an invitation for a guilt trip.
But the framework is explicitly designed to avoid that. It's an objective audit. You can't manage what you don't measure.
And measuring requires a hard, unemotional look at the numbers.
So how are those numbers actually processed?
It relies on a proprietary methodology called the TRACE framework, TRACE.
Right, so the T stands for track, which is the granular monitoring of your daily practices.
Our report, generating reflections based on that tracked data.
Then A is act, meaning the targeted implementation of improvements.
And finally, E is for evolve. That represents the continuous year-over-year enhancement of your footprint.
But if I'm taking this personal audit, I need to know this isn't just corporate fluff.
It's definitely not.
Because filling out a 15-minute survey in my kitchen feels pretty disconnected from massive systemic change. How does my data actually move the needle?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your individual survey doesn't exist in a vacuum. It is the foundational layer of a massive 4-tier ecosystem.
Okay, let's break down those tiers.
Level 1 is that individual level we just talked about, the Google form entries.
Generating the personal reports.
Right. But that anonymized data feeds directly into level 2, which is the operational level.
And that targets small teams, right?
Yes, specifically groups of under 5, 10, or 20 people. Here, the focus shifts to project business integration.
Meaning how those individuals are embedding ESG principles into their daily tasks at work.
Exactly. And that scales up to level 3, the strategic level.
This is for the major initiatives. The documentation mentions projects exceeding a threshold of RM1 million.
And those projects require comprehensive project lifecycle assessments, specifically PLC1 and PLC2.
Let's clarify what that actually entails, because project lifecycle assessment can sound like a catch-all buzzword.
It's a rigorous end-to-end evaluation. PLC1 refers to the initiation and planning phases.
So making sure sustainable design and resource efficiency are baked in from day one.
Before a single dollar of that million is spent, then PLC2 moves into the execution phases, measuring the actual ongoing footprint against those initial projections.
And all of that funnels up to level 4.
The governance level.
Right, where aggregated data from individuals, small teams, and major projects are all synthesized to produce the annual corporate ESG reports.
And the genius of this structure is the timeline. It operates on a strict quarterly rhythm.
To maintain momentum throughout the year.
Exactly. Quarter 1 is dedicated entirely to individual data collection.
Quarter 2 shifts to the operational team integration.
Quarter 3 is reserved for strategic project reviews.
And Quarter 4 is when the annual corporate report compilation happens. It's a continuous loop.
The documentation points out a key success metric here: 100% participation at that foundational individual level.
They want everyone in the SustNET community to submit their data.
Because even though it's anonymized, complete participation is the only way to get an accurate read on the collective footprint.
It really highlights how individual actions are the literal data points driving corporate change.
Let's look at the specific metrics they're asking you to track.
Starting with the E, the environmental component.
The mobility and transit footprint audit is a massive piece of this.
You have to calculate your average monthly kilometers and your frequency of travel.
Across 5 distinct categories.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. When I first read this, I assumed mobility tracking just meant logging my drive to the office.
A lot of people assume that.
But the assessment forces you to look at your entire life ecosystem. Work commutes, business trips, leisure activities, errands, even family visits.
You have to confront how often you jump in a car for a 5-minute drive to grab a coffee.
Because over 365 days, those micro trips really compound.
And the statistics in the source material put that into a stark global perspective.
Yeah, the numbers are wild.
Transportation is responsible for 23% of global CO2 emissions. And of that slice, 45% comes directly from road transport.
With another 12% coming from aviation.
Exactly. So the framework breaks your transit into categories to show exactly where you fit in that pie chart.
Category 1 is zero emissions, walking or cycling.
Category 2 is low carbon. That's public mass transit, like the MRT, LRT, commuter trains, and buses.
Then Category 3 gets into high and moderate impact. This includes private driving.
But the assessment makes a crucial distinction here.
Between driving alone versus utilizing ride shares like Grab or carpooling.
Right, because sharing a ride dilutes the per-person emission rate. It bumps you from a high-impact solo activity down to a moderate-impact shared activity.
Then we have Category 4, the heavy hitter.
High-impact travel, domestic and international flights, as well as sea travel like cruises.
Because air and sea transit represent the highest carbon impact per kilometer.
But the true innovation in this audit is Category 5.
The no-commute alternative.
Work from home. The assessment actually asks you to track your WFH days.
Which is brilliant because every day you work from your living room, you eliminate your transit footprint entirely.
It treats it as a massive, quantifiable carbon reduction hack, providing hard data on the environmental benefits of flexible work.
Okay, let's shift from how we move to what we consume.
The material footprint section.
Right. It asks you to estimate your total grocery and essential purchases for 2025.
And you have to break down the exact percentage of what you bought online versus in person.
And those two percentages must equal 100%.
It also requires a highly specific inventory of electronic purchases.
Like the exact number of new laptops, phones, tablets, or monitors you acquired.
The reason for this granularity is the concept of embodied carbon.
Which is fascinating. The environmental cost of a smartphone isn't just the electricity to charge it.
Not at all. The vast majority of its footprint is generated before you even open the box.
The heavy mineral mining, the high heat manufacturing, The global shipping logistics?
All of that is embodied in the device. The assessment forces you to confront that hidden cost.
And it doesn't let you ignore the end of a product's life either.
You have to estimate your physical trash output.
Using the metric of a standard 20-liter to 30-liter general waste bag.
You calculate how many of those your household produces weekly and contrast that against your monthly recycling ratio.
And the framework provides clear benchmarks for this.
It does. If you're diverting 1% to 25% of your recyclable materials, paper, plastic, metal, you're an occasional recycler.
But to hit the regular practice benchmark, you need to be diverting between 26% and 75% of your waste.
Furthermore, it asks if you utilize certified e-waste collection points.
Which is critical to stop heavy metals from leaching into the soil and to support a circular economy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I can wrap my head around tracking garbage bags and car mileage. That's tangible data.
Right.
But moving into the S and the G, social and governance?
Yeah.
This is where I start to see some friction.
It is the trickiest part to conceptualize.
Because how does a Google form accurately measure my personal governance? In a corporation, that's about board structures and audits.
Exactly.
How do you scale that down to individual daily habits without it just becoming, I don't know, a generic morality test?
This raises an important question, and it's arguably the most challenging part of translating ESG.
So how do they do it?
The framework quantifies these abstract concepts by looking at time allocation and active verification. Let's look at the social component first.
They define it as social capital.
In a corporation, that's labor rights or community relations. For you, it's measured by the hours you spend intentionally engaging with stakeholders.
The source material uses the phrase, investing in family equity, which honestly sounds a bit like putting your relatives on a spreadsheet.
It does sound a bit clinical, but the intent is to measure deliberate engagement. Are you actively investing time in family equity, community building, and inclusive growth?
It also tracks dedication to mentorship.
And this isn't just giving someone advice over a coffee.
Right, it asks for a quantification of the time you spend actively sharing skills.
Supporting the professional or personal growth of others, it puts a metric on your social impact radius.
And governance excellence is treated similarly. It looks at your personal commitment to transparency and ethics.
The assessment asks how much time you spend actively seeking knowledge to reduce risk.
Evaluating whether you're just throwing items in your grocery cart or actually taking the time to read and verify eco-labels.
And the verification aspect is where personal governance really takes shape. It goes beyond reading labels to your engagement with your suppliers.
Which for me means the businesses I choose to buy from.
Right. Are you having discussions about their supply chains or financial transparency? The most rigorous metric here is whether you can provide evidence of conducting site visits.
Okay, when I read site visits, I immediately picture myself showing up at a factory with a clipboard.
Yeah, that's the corporate image.
But in a personal context, a site visit is really about refusing to take marketing claims at face value.
Exactly. If a local vendor claims their produce is organic and sustainably farmed, personal governance means you don't just trust their Instagram aesthetic.
You actually go to the farm. You talk to the grower. You look at the soil. You verify the reality of the supply chain you are funding.
That is the essence of governance translated to the individual, demanding transparency and taking accountability for your decision-making matrix.
So reading the fine print, verifying claims, mentoring a colleague.
The framework argues these aren't just traits of being a nice person, they are measurable actions that build your personal ESG profile.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, sitting at home?
Well, you do the hard work, you dig through your 2025 calendar, confront your mileage, calculate your recycling ratio.
And you submit this data securely. What is the actual return on that investment of your time and your money?
On a practical level, the sources emphasize strict data privacy. Your inputs are encrypted and fully compliant with data protection regulations.
And once submitted and the fee is processed, a team of assessors reviews your profile.
Within 1 week, you receive your deliverables right to your inbox.
You get 2 specific tools, the Personalized Harvest Report and the Trace ESG Calendar for 2026.
The Personalized Harvest Report is where the value really becomes apparent.
It doesn't just hand you a raw carbon footprint number and say, good luck.
No, it provides detailed performance statistics and benchmarks your habits anonymously against the broader community.
But more importantly, it delivers highly specific, actionable recommendations tailored to your exact data.
Telling you where your highest impacts are and providing strategic adjustments to reduce your footprint and elevate your social and governance practices.
And the accompanying 2026 ESG calendar helps you map out and track those new goals week by week.
It takes the friction and raw data of your past year and synthesizes it into a highly actionable harvest for your future.
It's a fascinating evolution of how we view our individual responsibility within these massive global systems.
It demands a level of rigorous self-reflection that goes far beyond simply acknowledging that sustainability is important. You have to prove it with your data.
You really do. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over.
It's a paradox hidden right inside the assessment's metrics.
Remember we talked about how the framework requires you to calculate the exact percentage of your online versus in-person shopping.
Yes.
If you look closely at the methodology, it never explicitly states which of those two options yields a better ESG score.
It simply demands the data, which forces a brilliant, unguided analysis of modern logistics.
You have to evaluate the invisible systems behind your consumption. It forces you to confront a highly complex puzzle. When you sit on your couch and order groceries online, are you actually being an environmental genius?
Are you optimizing a massive logistical supply chain, letting one efficient delivery truck do the work of 50 individual cars?
Or is that just a convenient illusion? Are you blindly outsourcing your carbon footprint to an underpaid gig worker?
Exponentially increasing reliance on single-use cardboard and cold chain packaging.
And severing your social capital by disconnecting from your local community.
The data doesn't provide an easy answer, because the answer depends entirely on the specific mechanics of your local supply chain.
And how you govern your choices within it. It's a massive web of emissions, infrastructure, and social impact, all hiding behind a single click.
Something to critically evaluate.
Definitely something to think about the next time you're hovering your mouse over that Add to Cart button. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the metrics of personal accountability. We will catch you on the next one.